There is far more that meets the eye with this new Kings of Leon single. What a week for new music, eh? A brand new Kings of Leon single, an album announcement, new music from Kasabian, and Catfish and the Bottlemen have announced their return. I need to make a lot of videos. I'll be doing my best to cover new music from all three of these bands, up until the release of these new albums. So if you haven't yet subscribed, please consider doing so. And with that out of the way, let's talk Kings of Leon. In 2024, Kings of Leon are very much legends of the game. Rock music royalty. Their debut album, Youth and Young Manhood, dropped way back in 2003, so they've been going over 20 years now. They're still headlining the biggest festivals in the world, and many people would say at this point, what else is there to achieve after 20 solid years making great music? And where do you even go stylistically after making music for so many years? Well, if you know Kings of Leon, then you know you're always going to get something fresh sounding. For me, Kings of Leon are like Paramore, they just don't miss. Like, ever. And every single album they've released since Only by the Night, the album that catapulted them into mainstream success, has for me been absolutely top notch. And every time they've endeavoured to progress their sound, they've done so in the best, most exciting possible way. Like on 2016's album, for example, Walls. Very possibly my favourite Kings of Leon album to date, and for me, the most slept on. The sounds on this album, for me, was a significant departure from the Southern American rock sound that the band were best known for. Their sound became more polished on this album, more shiny sounding and ethereal. It kind of sounded like Fleetwood Mac, and even the Smiths at some point with some of the more jangly guitar work. Matthew Followell's guitar work on this album is exceptional. Some of the best I've ever heard, and it's just outstanding. 4 years later, the band progressed this subdued and almost melancholic sound on their next album. Their post-pandemic 2021 album, When You See Yourself, Are You Far Away? A very reflective album, like most albums written during or after that pandemic period, also as suggested strongly by the album's title. This album saw the band experiment with vintage equipment, vintage synthesizers, vintage guitars and tape machines, resulting in a very vintage sounding record and super emotive sounding also. The production was also more intricate than any music that they'd put out prior. Songs like The Bandit, 100,000 People, Over, Around the World, Walls, etc. from the past couple of records have been some of the band's best work. And they're aging like a fine wine for me, I have to say. So fast forward back to 2024. And the band are back with a brand new single called Mustang. But is it what we expected? So, the new single Mustang, coming from the band's upcoming 9th studio album, Can We Please Have Fun? Jesus, we're on 9 already. More on the album later. But after hearing the new single, wow. I am really surprised by it. It's such a departure once again. And it doesn't really follow on from When You See Yourself at all. When You See Yourself was just so reflective and melancholic. Very gentle and quite a low mood record, I'd say. Mustang just feels like a reaction to that. Arctic Monkeys are a band that always talk about this in interviews. How sometimes you'll make an album that has a particular sound, you'll release it, and then the next thing you feel like making is almost the complete inverse or opposite of what you've just made. And it kind of feels like that here. My god, this tune is just so punky and energetic. And I'm really getting sort of like British punk vibes from it, like The Clash. And it's really abrasive sounding, almost like a demo to me. Not pretty, like there's no ethereal jangly guitars on this one, but it sounds awesome. And for me it sounds a lot like Youth and Young Manhood, the band's debut album. Very sort of back to their roots sounding. Super raw and authentic sounding and very spontaneous. And Caleb's vocals in the chorus are really sort of like crying cat sounding. He really like wails like he did on the first few albums, and it's almost a nod to the band's earlier years, which I love. And this sounds really fresh for me because, well, it sounds like a band, which for bands releasing music in the modern day is sort of a lost art. The song isn't overproduced or overlayered. It's actually quite sparse, and you can actually hear each band member and hear what they're playing. Like, you can almost see them in a room together playing when you have your eyes closed listening to it. There are no overdubs or clever modern production techniques on this one, none that I can hear anyway, that are making it sound like a modern day pop record. This is proper band shit. And I thought Liam Gallagher and John Squire's latest single sounded a lot like this as well, in the sense that it sounds like a band. And for me, the studio version of Mustang actually sounds like the band played it live in the room during the tracking process. It has that live energy, and I can't really get over Caleb's vocals on this one. They're like super loose and super playful, and I think it contributes so much to the live feeling, and I think it'll translate to the live show really well. And I do wonder whether the rest of the album will be like this, like really raw sounding like their debut. But really, it's the lyrics on this one that are my favourite part of the whole song. At first glance, they just read kinda strange. But when you take a closer look, the lyrics to me read like Caleb is challenging you as a listener on your identity. Are you a Mustang or a kitty? What are you all about? What a great line. Like, are you a wild Mustang or are you a domesticated cat? Are you free? Do you express yourself? Are you carefree? Or do you just conform to societal expectations? Are you controlled in a way? Which I think is a very important topic right now in 2024, given the rise of cancel culture and the seemingly never-ending increase in censorship that we're just seeing everywhere on what you can and can't say, what you can and can't do anymore. The lyric, I saw them operating on a kid downstairs. I could not be bothered to pretend to care. I think that's such a good line in the sense that it's the perfect imagery for what you should do and how you should feel versus what your private reality actually is. And I really like the line, there's a golden globe in my office space. Maybe that line refers to the fans' expectations and the industry's expectations for what Kings of Leon should make and what they should sound like versus what the band actually want to make. Very interesting lyrics on this one. I have to say, I do really like it, but let me know what you guys think in the comments below. So, the band's 9th studio album, Can We Please Have Fun, has been announced, releasing on the 19th of May of this year, so really not that long. The album has 12 tracks, and those tracks are Ballerina Radio, Rainbow Ball, Nowhere to Run, Mustang, Actual Daydream, Split Screen, Don't Stop the Bleeding, Nothing to Do, Television, Hesitation Generation, Ease Me On, and Scene. Pretty interesting song titles. Actually, when you think about it, the album's title, Can We Please Have Fun, does in a way sound like a reaction to that post-pandemic lockdown kind of feeling. That sudden realization that life is fleeting. And now that we have our basic freedoms back, let's just have some fun, because life is short. Maybe that's the message that they're trying to convey here with this new album. Let me know in the comments down below if you've heard any more interesting details about this album. Now, one small detail worth mentioning here is that it's the band's first album with their new label, Capitol Records, which does make you think, have the band got more creative control with this new album deal? They're not going completely independent like Paramore are now, for example, but will this new deal change the kind of music that they make? Do the band now have more freedom over what they're allowed to release? Who knows? Just an interesting thought in 2024 right now, where lots and lots of major artists are seemingly wanting to go independent and wanting to own their own masters. Who can blame them? Surprise, surprise, Kings of Leon have also announced a tour alongside this new album campaign. They've got a couple of dates in South America, and then they're coming to their second home this summer, the UK. So that's June of this year, which is really not that long. I think I'll be trying to get tickets for their Hyde Park show. Paolo Nutini is also on the bill, and there's loads more acts to be announced. So it sounds like it'll be a great day out in the sun. So there you have it. Lots and lots of new music to look forward to in the Indian alternative rock space. If you watched my last video, then you know that I now have a monthly newsletter that's up and running, in which I'll share in a bit more detail what I'm listening to, what I'm watching, as well as some home studio music making tips and tricks, and gear that I'd recommend, that sort of thing. So if that sounds good to you, just enter your email in the link in the description, costs you nothing, and it'll automatically add you to my email list. And you can also finally download the Logic file for my brand new single All In. There's a link in the description below. If you're interested at all around how I made the song at home, you can download the session, open it up in Logic or GarageBand, and take apart the session basically. I also documented the whole process of making the song at home, so if you're interested, I'll leave a link to that series on screen at the end of this video. And with that said, hit the like button if you enjoyed it, subscribe for more content like this, and if you are wondering what to watch next, I will leave a few links to some videos on screen that you may want to tune into next. Thank you ever so much for watching, and I'll hopefully see you in the next one.